Welcome back to the channel. It has been a couple years since we have been here with my 97 S10 Blazer in any kind of meaningful way on the channel, which there's a playlist for it up there and down in the description. So I thought it would be a good time to kind of do a update video because, you know, some things have happened in the last couple years while it's just been sitting around, and just kind of get the people who haven't been here the whole time reacclimated to the project now that we're getting back into it. I'm about 150 more videos experienced since I made any of the Blazer videos, which is one of the reasons why we're here now. So my goal for this rust dumpster was to try and have a safely operating, running, driving, stopping 4x4 for under $1,000. Jury's still out whether or not we're going to get there, but a brief overview of the problems that have been corrected and some that haven't. When I got this thing, I wasn't fully aware that every single line down the frame on this side, so there are like 4 fuel lines, you know, some evap hoses and stuff, and a brake line for the rear brakes that were all rotted off. It's a complete nightmare to take care of that. It also has a tremendous engine leak. I also rebuilt all the rear brakes, but because I'm a nervous Nelly and was new to YouTube at the time, I put them together wrong. I believe these are both front shoes on one side and both rear shoes are on the other side. So where these are equal lengths, they are not supposed to be. So I've got to tear apart all the drum brakes again. But while I'm taking care of that, I'm going to drop in some other insert footage that I've taken over the last like 2 years of this thing, just when I found interesting new problems popping up. So when we last left this thing, I was going to take a couple crowfoot line wrench ends and get on that guy with a couple of ratchets and see if I could tighten it up more and get it to quit leaking. And I just tightened the bejesus out of it and actually did give pretty freely, all things considered. But you can see it's so tight now that I bent up that line trying. So if it doesn't leak, it's going to be a lot of fun trying to straighten that out. But let's get in it, hit the key, and see if it sprays gas all over the camera. Okay, so I just cycled the key probably 8 or 10 times. The line's actually cold. I can feel the cold gas in it. I don't see any leaks. So it looks like we could have had this done a year ago, or 9 months ago, 6 months ago, whenever it was, if I would have just had the right tools. Cool. That means we can start this mug up and actually let it come up to temperature, maybe change the oil and all kinds of good things. And if you're curious about the setup it took to get that done, it was these guys. Those are the crow feet I bought. The sockets there happen to be SK Tools brand, but I don't think it really matters what you were to buy. But you can see that the ratchet actually interferes with the socket, with the hex in the socket, and that's true on this Craftsman ratchet over here. In fact, it's way worse. So to use these, at least the way I wanted to use them, you have to use them with an extension. I really wish I would have had 2 stubby extensions like this, because that's plenty to get the job done. And I even finished up the fuel and brake line replacement all the way down the frickin' frame of this thing, all the way to the front of the truck. And in fact, I was kind of hoping the rest of this video would be kind of a victory lap that we would all take together and take this thing out on its maiden drive. So again, I've only driven it maybe like 100 yards, couple hundred yards, period, since I've owned it for 3 years. Well, I went to bleed the rear brakes and that didn't go well. As you can probably see right here, the brake master cylinder is not supposed to bypass like that and shoot fluid everywhere, so that's no good. So I think the obvious assumption there is the brake master cylinder is dead, which who would have known that having the rear brakes on the vehicle open for the last 5, 6, maybe 10 years, I don't know, would have negative consequences. Who could have thought? The next problem is this is the condition of our front brakes, including the front brake caliper bleeders, which are just so rusty that there's almost no chance those are coming off. And the lines up front don't look a lot better than the lines that were headed to the back. In fact, it's probably quite fair to say that they don't look any better at all. I knew this day was coming. I was just hoping that it wouldn't come so soon. So yes, indeed, I've bought all new front brakes for this thing, as well as having done the rear brakes, and I'm probably going to end up replacing at least a fair portion of those brake lines too, I'm guessing. I'm going to try and cheat and see if I can just get this wheel to bleed, so when we replace the master cylinder, maybe then we can take it on a test drive and see if we shouldn't just test drive this thing straight to the junkyard. As you can see, it is a big day for the Blazer. And yes, we're looking in the back of the Escort. But we managed to pick up 4 brand new Goodyear Wrangler tires, which are not at all my favorite. But we got all 4 from Amazon for like $270, and it'll be like another 125 to get them mounted and balanced. But it's kind of a deal too good to refuse, because the truck desperately needs some all seasons, and it needs all seasons for a couple reasons. I have these studded snow tires on it right now that I actually owned before I bought the truck, and that should make this thing like an unstoppable force of nature during the winter and ice season and all that good stuff. So this is actually the real plan, but all the same, I don't want to have this thing around the other 9 months of the year and not be able to drive it. In fact, I kind of want it and the Escort to be kind of the two in the rotation for the most part. So we need some all seasons. One of the primary reasons this guy sold the Blazer is because this wheel had completely dismounted its tire. You can see the beads broken and everything else. So he didn't want to spend money on tires for the thing. And knowing what else I know about the truck, that was probably a good decision for him. And what I thought it would be fun to do is go around and check the date codes on all these. These are 3 different types of tires and actually 2 different sizes, which I only just now realized. And that could have caused us a problem, but we got lucky. What were on the rear were both matched. And that is the date code for them. And it says 3506, so these tires are from the 35th week of 06, or at least this one. Its friend, which had completely dismounted itself, is from the 45th weeks of 06, and this would have been the left front. It's a Goodyear Wrangler as opposed to the other two, which are Uniroyals. This would have been the 14th week of 2008. Then on the passenger side front, we have a Michelin from the, I believe, 3rd week of 05. So all these tires are basically like 15 years old. And just check out how this guy was rolling. All this dry rot and everything else. The sidewall of this one is just all completely destroyed. And this guy was driving it every day like that. Just completely incredible. So I just opened the door of the old Johansson here and noticed a big puddle on the floor. It's been raining basically non-stop for, I don't know, last week or so. And not that I'm overly concerned about it, but it looks like we've got a door seal that's just whipped. All this adhesive has come off and it was separated in this corner. It's supposed to tuck behind this A-pillar trim to hold it in, and it looks like it's just beat. So not that I care that much, but I probably don't want to get rained on driving this thing, so probably going to end up having to replace that. Holy crap, I just pulled the floor mat out and to start soaking up some of this water, and there's like a freaking lake in here. That's like ½ an inch deep down there in the floor pan. Right where we saw this first puddle, I promise you there's a puddle in the pan, or a hole in the floor pan. Holy crap, that's a ton of water. And this carpet's all super moldy. Gross. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do something about that. We're not gonna be driving a lake. Had enough of that in the Jeep before I got the new top on it. I don't know how easily you guys will be able to tell, but that huge trail of water is just what I could sop out of it with a paper towel and wring out with my hands. That's at least 20 feet long. There's definitely at least a few cups of water in the thing. Oh, awesome. Never a dull moment with the old Johansson. Well, turns out door seals and such for this thing are pretty freaking expensive. So the near-term fix for this was to spray it down with a bunch of vinegar to kill off the ecosystem living in it, and to stop backing it into the driveway and to park it nose ahead so that the roof line is going downhill instead of uphill into the front door seals. And apparently the thing has become quite the wasp sanctuary. I'm glad I noticed that before it came back in the shop. Ooh. So hopefully that was enough information to give you some vague idea what this thing is doing in here, what the problems are, and what our future goals are with it. Which I guess I didn't fully say. The entire goal of this thing is for it to be a winter beater. I want like 10,000 miles out of it, and that's it. At least I would be happy if I got there. But as far as what's coming up real soon, this thing's got a destroyed wheel seal on this side, so you may as well do both sides. Pretty sure the pinion seal's leaking too. The differential's probably 100% empty. So I'm gonna tear all that stuff apart in the next video and see where we stand on it. Because the goal is to at least get this thing running, driving, and stopping so it can drive itself across town if it had to. But that will be for the next video. As always, guys, appreciate you stopping in for this video, and we'll catch you on the next one.